From the real estate, interior design, and design and build experts at the Penzo Group comes a podcast that covers all things home. For our team, a home is so much more than the sum of its four walls. It goes beyond. A home is our sanctuary, a place to create memories, build routines, and shape our futures. Through a series of captivating conversations with guests who are industry experts in their fields, we discuss their lives, passions, and their most personal and intimate spaces, their homes. Welcome to Beyond Four Walls, where we explore the soul of living spaces and celebrate the essence of what makes a house a true home.
Welcome back to Beyond Four Walls. My name is Gabrielle. Today we thought we would do a bit of a deep dive into one of the companies within our family of companies, Urban Blueprint Design and Build. So to discuss that, I have the two co-founders with me who also happen to be brother and sister, Natasha and Luca Penzo. Hi, guys.
Hi.
So, Luca, you handle more of the construction side of things, whereas Natasha, you handle more of the client-facing selections, that sort of thing. And I'll let you guys elaborate more than that. Those terrible intros, but I'm just curious, to backtrack a little bit. How did this all begin? Because I don't even know myself, really. You guys were quite young when the business started.
Yeah, Urban Blueprint has, we've been around for 9 years now.
We've
come a long way, I must say.
Yeah, from starting in Natasha's, the basement of her house.
The basement of my house, yeah.
Amazing.
Feels good to have a team and be in an office now, but...
you were like 25 or...
Yeah.
Yeah, we were pretty young when we started.
Even, 24 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah, I graduated from university. I went to George Brown after and took project management.
So sorry, just to backtrack, university, you took what?
I just did my BA at the University of Guelph, so like the standard 4 years.
Yeah.
And then after that, I decided to go to college. I went to George Brown and got formally educated in construction. I had experience all my life. Our father's a developer, so I grew up on construction sites. But following formal education, taking the construction management program and architectural program at George Brown College, Natasha and I had the idea to start Urban Blueprint. I kind of had a lot of the construction background, and Natasha has her MBA and the business background, so we decided to join forces and start the company.
And Natasha, were you working in PR at this point?
Yeah. So, just to go back, I guess. So I started out after my first job out of, I guess, my undergrad was I interned at Fashion Magazine, which was a great experience. Made a lot of contacts. Then I was at the Bay briefly in its heyday when Bonnie Brooks was at the Realm and they were opening the Room. And although I honestly always thought I was going to run like a fashion, like big department store, I was like, I'm going to be the CEO of a fashion department store. And then I realized after those jobs that I had never really looked at a balance sheet. I didn't really know how businesses were run. So I decided to write my GMAT and apply for my MBA. This was all the while I was also getting married, did my MBA. And then like Luca was so passionate about construction growing up on job sites, like he said. And we thought like, wouldn't it be great to just do something together? And that's how Urban Blueprint was born.
Sorry to cut you off, but so just to give the listeners some context. So Luca, you touched upon your dad being in construction, and then obviously your mom is in real estate.
Yeah.
So I imagine that was a big influence as well.
We literally moved every 2 years growing up.
Yeah, we jumped around houses pretty often.
Just as we got settled to be like, on to the next.
Yeah. Fortunately, they were in like similar neighborhoods. So like schools didn't change too much.
So all our friends were like the same.
But, our parents being in real estate, it just made sense for them to keep moving. And that's kind of how they grew their equity and wealth as well.
So, Natasha, you also are a real estate broker now.
Yes.
When did you do that? Was that simultaneous with starting Urban Blueprint, or?
So in 2016, this is more of like, some people may not know this from a business perspective and just following us online, but in 2016, our mom got diagnosed with breast cancer. It was the same year that I had our first child, and my husband was going through a career transition. What was a very difficult and challenging time for our family. You know, watching our mother in and out of the hospital, going through treatment, also led to an opportunity. And that was, you know, getting licensed as a broker, working with her and merging the real estate and the design and actually creating this group of companies together for our family. She was in the, like, she's been in the business for like over 40 years. So
yeah,
it's
she's
such a
force
pleasure.
to be
Yeah, and she's
with.
doing amazing and is
Yes.
thriving and is so passionate about advocating for the breast cancer community. Like, she was the keynote speaker at Run for the Cure a few years ago, and what was a challenging time has ended up being really
Oh, it's amazing.
Definitely
you
brought
turned
us
it
together.
into
One of our biggest like first developments actually is on Walker Avenue, is their house.
Yeah.
And it was while she was going through treatment
that
and
we
everything.
worked on
so
that.
we worked
Yeah.
on that, and Natasha was picking all the finishes while she was going through treatment. So
Mhm.
that was a special project and one of the big first developments that we did
worked
at Urban
on,
Blueprint. Yeah. I just want to touch on what my father did as well, just to step back a little bit, because it kind of sets up like
Sure.
why we started Urban Blueprint as well, and what we were all about when we first started. So our father, was a developer. His company was Lanterna Group, and the main focus was subdivisions. So that's where I grew up, on subdivisions, going house to house, and that's how I learned how land was divided and serviced and homes were built from the ground up. And what I really ultimately learned going through that experience, it taught me and gave me a ton of knowledge, but I realized that I didn't really like cookie cutter and didn't want to have a career doing that. So after I got formally educated at George Brown, we kind of felt there was a bit of a niche in the market, where we could provide like high-end custom home service to the renovation market, more of like a white glove service, like what builders were providing in full custom builds for smaller projects, and making that attainable to everyone. So that's kind of was the initial concept when we started Urban Blueprint. And then, what it looked like when we first started was...
It didn't look great.
It did not look great. Like we were like using our personal visas for our customers at the beginning, like kind of just figuring things out as we went.
Yeah.
Like our first office was in
Excel
Natasha's basement.
spreadsheets for, proposals.
Yeah. It was kind of really like a beta. Like we were just trying things out of Natasha's basement. And our first project, was for friends of ours, was a bathroom renovation in the annex. And then...
Thank God for Rob and Jonathan.
Yeah, shout out
to
Rob
them.
and Jonathan. Thank you.
Gave us our first opportunity.
They did.
Yeah.
And then it kind of just trickled from there. And then it was like a full main floor gut renovation where we had to restructure the home. And it just kind of trickled from there, kind of organically, word of mouth. We kept getting reference.
It's actually,
and...
it's so, sometimes I pinch myself because we were like the other day talking about how many projects have we actually executed on now?
Over 100.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In 9 years.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. Thank you.
I mean, having worked with you guys for a while now and known you personally as well, you seem to get along remarkably well, but I have to ask.
We figured it out.
Yeah. Were there stumbling blocks in the beginning, given that you are brother and sister?
Yeah, I think at the beginning we didn't really know what our roles were going to be.
Right.
Like it was really tough to define them at the beginning, and I think we were both like trying to do everything and didn't know what we were both good at yet.
Absolutely,
And
yeah.
then now we've really defined that, and we
now have
know
more of a
where we
team,
both,
right?
Yes.
Like you're our marketing
excel.
director. We have a team of designers. We have site supervisors. Like
Mhm.
we are surrounded by really, really smart people.
Yeah.
At the beginning, it was just us two.
Yeah.
Yeah. Having a good team makes all the difference.
And I think, we like from when we started to now, we're both now parents.
Mhm.
Luca has a growing family.
Mhm.
What would seem like a big deal maybe 5 years ago is like, are people alive? Nobody has died. Like,
Yeah, there's like,
Yeah.
your perspective changes on what becomes like an issue. There's a solution.
yeah, and you've gone through it so many times now, and every problem is solvable.
Mhm.
And now we've obviously solved them many times,
yeah.
and we know just how to approach problems when they arise,
Mhm.
because they're inevitable.
What would you say was a big turning point for the business when it evolved from being, a startup in your basement to being, this is what we do now. This is a real thing.
I think COVID gave us some time. Like when COVID hit, we were like,
Yeah, when COVID hit, that's like when we
were also
basically
like, are
moving
we
into this
gonna like
office.
survive? But then we became essential, which was
Mhm.
like construction was
Yes.
essential.
Yeah, we were really ramping up, and then we weren't sure what was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And then construction took off, and it was like actually turned out to be a really great
Mm-hmm.
period of growth for us.
And I think also like when we were named one of Canada's top growing companies by Globe and Mail and Maclean's based on our revenue growth a couple years in a row, that was like, okay, like we're amongst, some of Canadians' greatest businesses. And that was really rewarding.
It was a lot of hard years, and
A
it was
lot of
just
hard years, yeah.
it was great to be recognized.
Mm-hmm.
And now we feel like our reputation is good, and people really know about us when they call us for consultations.
Plus,
And that just keeps like propelling us and
Yeah.
energizing us. But like ultimately it's our customers that like really motivate us and make what we do feel so we get so much purpose out of it.
and I imagine a lot of it's word of mouth. You guys have also been featured in a number of, recognized media outlets, House and Home, Globe and Mail. There's a whole bunch now. Would you say the core of the business is still the same as when you started, or has that shifted? How have your services evolved or expanded?
The services have definitely expanded. Like originally, it was really just the construction management. I am a BCIN registered designer as well. So from the beginning, I could always do the architectural plans, work with our engineering team, and obtain building permits. But since then, we now have an interior design team as well. So that has definitely evolved over the years. And then the type of projects have changed. We don't really they've gotten larger for sure, but we still don't shy away from the small ones. Just because we feel like at our core from when we started the business, it was to really make it attainable for everyone. So we've kind of kept that true to ourselves, while still growing and taking on larger projects.
Where we add a lot of value is our one-stop shop approach. And going back to, 2016 when I got licensed, now my husband's on our team as well. And we're growing our real estate arm. But we truly can service the customer at every stage of their home process, from buying to permits and planning to construction to interiors to, at the throw pillows at the end. It's literally anything they need for their home, they can come to us, and we're approachable and we're a family business.
Yeah, we work with the real estate team all the time. Like it's very often that Graham will call me and be like, "Hey Lou, I've got this this house I need you to come see. It needs a renovation, and the client wants to have an idea of costs before making an offer, or they have to sell their current home and it needs some cosmetic updates to get it saleable and ready." So it works on both ends. And
yeah, we've got the trades at our fingertips. We're always all hands on deck. And
yeah, I think just from an efficiency standpoint, we're able to come in quickly.
Mhm.
So it's really a huge benefit for the owners.
So, as far as, for those listening who are living in a home maybe that they're not totally satisfied with, they've been considering either, a full renovation or an extension, or maybe they're looking at homes that might require one of the two. How do you suggest they begin? Like, what is the process? What does that initial consultation look like? Because I think it's a daunting phone call for many people to make, especially because most people don't have any idea before they're involved of the costs.
Mm-hmm.
What
I
do you
think it's important to also bring the real estate team in for something like this. If the
Mhm.
client already is living in their current home and they're not sure whether they want to stay, do the potentially do an extension, they need bedrooms, bathrooms, or if they want to move, just to provide that analysis where we can give the construction costs, and the real estate team can provide the
Yeah,
comparables
and I
for
think
what they were
that's where
looking at.
really the trust comes in with us, is we try to be cognizant and really just be expert advisors to clients, where we don't want people to overspend.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We want that, we know their home is their biggest asset, and we truly want them to maximize the value of that asset. So we
Mhm.
come in from a really trusting place. I think in terms of
And we're no obligation, no pressure
Yeah.
to start. We just come in to provide guidance and honest opinion of where we think
an
makes the most sense.
education, and then and just to be there for them every step of the way.
Yeah. But to get started, obviously, schedule a consultation, give us a call. We'll come over to your home. We'll review your current house, any plans you're thinking about for doing an extension or possibly rebuilding or doing a
Mhm.
renovation. And then we can do that analysis to compare what makes more sense, whether to stay where you are in the location that you have or to look at moving.
And how does it work? It's so far as, because I know you have a team that can just about do it all as far as interior design goes as well. But, I'm aware of certain projects where you've collaborated with other interior designers. How does that work? Just for those who, have dreamed of working with someone in particular.
For us, it's really about the customer always.
It's such a intimate experience to go through the design and construction of a home. So if someone has a favorite designer that they want to work with, we're fully on board that they work with that designer. And we think it's important that they're 100% comfortable and satisfied with the whole approach and person, because you're really talking to us and the design team on a very regular basis. So yeah, we're really on board with working with different designers. It's really just catered to the owner and making sure that the right person's brought onto the project.
Having looked through your portfolio of work, I mean, your styles range greatly. I think there is still a common thread through them, though, that gives it a certain urban blueprint feel. How do you balance your clients' personal tastes and what they want, and with your experience and what you guys do well?
So, first step when we start on design is we have an onboarding, and that includes a design questionnaire, and that really narrows down the aesthetic, the lifestyle, and then really lets our design team understand what vendors are we going to source from, what's the overall look and feel, and even from in terms of the build out and the layout of the home, how is I'm thinking back to our project that was in Style at Home, where it was their family's playground. There was the movie theater. There was so much involved in that project and so many specifics to that family in terms of the actual design of the home.
Yeah, and a lot of times the client will provides great inspiration, and then it's our job
execute.
execute on
Mhm.
that. And sometimes, and it's also like, obviously, like budget constraints come into play
Sure.
here. So sometimes a big part of our process is like trying to meet those, the criteria for what the client's like vision is, and make it really like attainable for them, whether we have to like adjust design, but still ultimately upheld like what they are wanting.
And your work has spanned, I mean, across the city really and beyond. So your sites can be anywhere in Toronto or
Mhm.
and beyond, or
Most of our sites are central downtown, but we've worked all over the GTA. We're not shy to go outside of Toronto.
Mhm.
We've gone as far west as Oakville.
Mhm.
East, we've got to Scarborough, and then north, we've gone to Aurora.
Mhm.
So really,
yeah, that's quite a
within those,
wide range.
yeah.
Mhm. For decor, it's
And decor is a
a
different
little
story.
easier
Sure.
to
Yeah.
like we've done projects all across Canada and now starting in Florida. So
And how would you say, I mean, you guys touched upon COVID being a big time where you really ramped up the business
Mhm.
because you were considered essential. But apart from that, how would you say the business has evolved over the years? Like, not necessarily you specifically, but
mhm.
design and build in the larger sense. And what have you done to keep up with that or innovate or
It's definitely an industry that's going
Constantly.
through a lot of
Yeah.
change, and the city is we need a lot of innovation moving forward in this city in terms
Mhm.
of build, like just in terms of like the trade as well. There's such a lack of trades right now.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that more young students actually go to
go into
school to work
trades?
with their hands and go
And
into
just start working with the trades that have the experience
yeah.
and like learning from them before they're exited as well and finish their careers.
And I mean, Luca can speak to this because it's really, he's so passionate about architecture and that side of the business, but like how we can think differently about the density of the city. Like
Mhm.
we've started building laneway houses, and garden suites. And
Yeah.
he's
We have a
so
really exciting laneway house in Summerhill that we've
yeah.
been working on for
Very cool.
years.
Mhm.
Because like there used to be an area in Summerhill that was carved out of the laneway bylaw where you could build a laneway suite anywhere in the city, but you couldn't build one here.
Okay.
And that is no longer. So now we can actually build this laneway house. So
Are you guys the
we have
first
our
to build
zoning
one there?
certificate.
Are we the first in Summerhill?
If we're not the
One up.
One
one
of?
of for
That's
sure.
exciting.
So we've now received our zoning certificate for the laneway suite, and we're going through permitting right now.
So cool.
So we hope to start
Mhm.
construction this spring.
So, I mean, for those who may not know, a
Mhm.
laneway house, describe that to me
Yeah.
exactly. Like, I'm assuming it's much smaller than.
So the bylaw to build a laneway house went citywide. So anywhere in the city of Toronto, if you have a laneway, you can potentially build a laneway house. The city is stricter with the laneway house bylaws than they are with main houses when you go to the committee of adjustment. So when you're designing them, you really want to try and make sure that you are compliant with the bylaws the city has set out. But basically, you have to have a fire hydrant within 45 meters of your home or the access point of the laneway. And then your suite has to be within 45 meters of where the fire truck would be parked at that hydrant. And it can be extended to 90 meters if you put in additional measures like sprinkler, the laneway suite, and add a strobe light. But they're becoming very popular. Most commonly, people are doing them as like a full home, whereas the main level actually has like a living room, kitchen, dining room. And then the second level is usually like a 2 or 3 bedroom level with 2 bathrooms.
And I think
and some people are keeping parking, but if you're going to
Yeah.
actually rent it out,
and
most people are foregoing their parking on the street and making it a full like house.
And are they building these in general for the purpose of overflow, family renting them? Like, what are people
I
doing
think
with
it's like
their laneway
like
houses?
the affordability.
We're seeing both. Like in most neighborhoods, I find like in the Danforth neighborhood is really, really popular for them. Leslieville, where our office is starting to get popular. And like Natasha said, it really is like affordability because people can rent these and it help pay down their mortgage.
Additional income.
Yeah.
Like I think the focus in the city is like, making home ownership within reach for young people is like should be the priority. And that's something, that we're passionate about and we have gotten excited about, particularly laneway housing, but also just thinking like we have a portfolio of multiplexes that our family manages, and like how can we do better in this industry to make living in Toronto within reach, whether that's home ownership or renting.
Just because it's expensive to live here, I don't think people are going to stop coming to Toronto. So I think we're going to see a lot more like multifamily homes where it's like multiple families living in the same houses, or a lot of houses are going to get converted to duplexes.
Toronto is not a dense city. Like when we think about other cities, especially in Europe, like London, Barcelona, Paris.
Yeah.
People think
I
Toronto...
saw a video of the apartment in Paris the other day and it was like 100 square feet.
Yeah.
Like it was crazy.
Yeah, we have a very skewed perception here.
Yeah.
Sorry, you mentioned garden suites as well. Now, I'm picturing like a glorified garden shed, but I'm sure it's more elaborate than that.
So the whole plan by the city with this is to increase density. So after the laneway housing bylaw went citywide, they introduced garden suites. So it's essentially anybody that's not on a laneway can essentially build what would look kind of like a laneway house in their backyard, which is called a garden suite.
So there's similar
bylaws.
A backyard of a certain size.
You need a backyard of a certain size, and you need certain setbacks, so there's proper access for the residents of the garden suite. But yeah, it is possible to essentially build a house in your backyard.
Wow! So it would have presumably like a mini kitchenette type thing.
Exactly. And typically, like with these buildings too, they would share the services with your house.
Okay. And again, you're seeing these being constructed for multiple uses, be it rental, overflow.
Yeah. Like I think
nanny suites, I don't know.
The main purpose of them is really to increase density and for people to rent them out. But we do see a lot of people that are building them for their own personal use as well. For example, like if they do want to put a home office in the suite or have like a gym. So we're seeing different uses for them.
So you've talked about how your jobs can range quite a bit. You've mentioned, just single bathroom renovations, full floor renovations. What is the spectrum? Like what are the limits? I mean, you guys do condos as well, right?
We do everything.
Definitely
like
no
new
limits.
builds, renovations, remodels, condos.
Like I'd say if there was a price range, it would be like typically from like $50,000 up to around like $3 million. So it's obviously a huge range. So what we will take on like a kitchen remodel,
and
or
there's
like a small
ton
condo.
You can do even with spraying cabinets. Like
you can make
we
a
have
huge
done
impact.
kitchen remodels where they'll keep the existing cabinetry and we'll spray it and add new hardware and light fixtures and countertops and it goes a long way. And we've done a number of projects in condos throughout the city, like quite a lot in the Shangri-La. We've done Scrivener Square. We
countless
lived
in
Scrivener Square.
We did the penthouse there too.
Yeah.
So it's like a huge range, and like all the way up to obviously full new construction homes as well.
Yeah, and you mentioned condos. I mean, I think that's an important one to talk about because having looked at your portfolio quite a bit, I mean, the style ranges incredibly. I mean, condos can feel a little
white box.
Yeah, white box, cookie cutter, lacking personality. And some of them you've really made them feel like home.
Like especially when someone's moving in and it still has the original like builder grade finishes, which I feel like so many people that happens in Scrivener, where people are moving in, it's all the builder grade stuff, and then we go in and basically cosmetically update the whole thing. A common one we do like every condo project is like those ugly popcorn ceilings always get removed. But with a condo project, you are you're limited structurally, and most of the time with plumbing locations. But you can fully like remodel and update any condo space, really. Yeah.
And I even love working on our portfolio of multifamily. Like when we recently renovated one in Moore Park, and we really try to make them feel like home for our tenants. We put in
like in our portfolio of rentals?
Finishes that are more, aligned to the neighborhood. So they don't just feel like we've, plopped in some subway tile and like...
Yeah, we're not like our thoughtful units that we're renovating. It's not like the Home Depot special. We're still like, even though we are trying to be somewhat affordable and cost effective, like a cost effective. Yeah.
Our chick white subway tile, Home Depot.
Yeah, you're putting thought into it.
We're still putting a lot of design thought into it.
And we have our design team involved with. So an interiors team has been involved, and we really we get to know our tenants and we treat them like family. And for me, that's been actually a really exciting part of the business to work on as well, because we are on more of a budget.
Yeah,
which tends
and you
to
still
be
want these people, like everybody, to like live in a beautiful space.
But it challenges your creativity, which is fun.
Yeah,
and we have built such also great relationships with our roster of suppliers, vendors, trades. They're all the bloodline of our business.
Yeah,
so
they're really an next part of our team.
Of challenges, I mean, you mentioned budget constraints, popcorn ceilings, which I've heard are horrendous to take down. What other kind of challenges have you run into in the building process?
I mean, you've been in a pile of shit.
Oh yeah, thanks for telling the world that. That was a good learning experience. But we've done a lot of projects in the city where access is extremely limiting. But like really one thing with Urban Blueprint is we don't shy away from problems or challenges, to be honest. So we always find a way to get it done.
Any recent examples?
Yeah, we did a project recently where it's actually a townhouse where we just kept the front wall. And there was no access to the back. So we ended up having to crane the excavator over the house. So that got a lot of attention on the street for sure. We had all the neighbors out. Yeah, it was kind of like a show. I was worried we were going to be on the news.
Here's a bottle of wine for you. A bottle of wine for you.
Exactly. But that was an amazing experience. And it just really goes to show that like anything really is possible if you think about it creatively.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
So just because we've asked some of the guests and I'm curious to know your answers, we talk a lot about the meaning of home, what it means to you. I mean, you are in the business of creating dream homes for people individually. What does home mean to you? And as a follow-up question, what's your favorite room in your own respective homes and why?
My favorite room, I think, to be honest, is my family room. Just because it's like, it looks beautiful when we're having guests over, but it's just like where all the craziness happens. Our kids, like that's where I spend a lot of time with my kids after work. And it's also where like when they go to bed, where I'm hanging out, like it's definitely my favorite room in the house and most comfortable room, I would say.
It's pretty but functional.
Yeah, exactly. And then what home means to me, it's basically like just a place where you feel comfortable, surrounded by family, a place to entertain, a place to vent, like deal with problems. Just, yeah, it's like really just your comfort zone where you should always really feel happy.
Favorite room for me, it's so hard to choose. I feel like it's our primary bathroom, because like I'll lock myself in there. Like I'll just escape everyone. Like
See you
light a
later.
scented
Literally
candle,
your
like,
private
yeah.
sanctuary.
Yeah, I'll meditate in there. I love my mornings in there. I often listen to Ryan's podcasts in there, and while I'm getting ready for work. And my kids sometimes come in there too. Like sometimes they'll all take showers together in there, and it's super fun, and I love it. But yeah, home for me is just like family. Like when I walk in the door after work, and I just like Pierce is in the high chair. There's pasta all over the floor. Like Jack and Sophia or whatever they're doing in the family room, and they're smiling and excited to see me. Is like that's just home for me is family, in a place that's like comforting, and you know, I'm sure we'll move throughout the years, and it all will always just be about like walking in, and it just feels like a place I can just absolutely be myself.
Yeah, it's really a place that you should love.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.